Janice Seagraves. I've got a new camera. Isn't this great? I mean, the detail is really, really good. And I thought if I'm going to do this, I may as well do this more professionally and get a better camera. And it has a speaker on it and everything, so maybe you can hear me better. I do have kind of a faint voice. I can blame the women in my family for that one because we all talk like this. I actually have the deepest voice in my family, believe it or not. Um, I wanted to talk today about how I got started in writing. Somebody asked me the other day, why did you start writing? And I gave the usual flippant answer, which was the characters in my head wouldn't leave me alone. But that's not necessarily true. I blame my insomnia. Yeah. As far back as I remember, I had a hard time going to sleep. At a very, very young age, I started making up stories in my head just so I could get to sleep because sometimes I just toss and turn for hours if I didn't do that. And I'd go to school the next day, bags under my eyes and exhausted. But I'd close my eyes, drift off to sleep, dreaming I was somebody else having the adventure of my life. It all started innocently enough. My mother would take us to the movies, and I'd watch whatever it was and came home and asked my mom, what happened next? And she'd say, well, make something up. And I did. That's when I go to sleep at night, I close my eyes and dream I was that person in that movie and dreamed an alternative ending to that movie or that book I read, that show on TV I saw, and that became my writing goal, is just to write what happened next. And started thinking up brand new stories, and the adventures continued and got wilder and more detailed, and I didn't really write back then. I just drew the pictures because I was very, very young. Didn't have a lot of faith in my spelling or my grammar. I was like 6, 7, 8 years old, at the time. And it wasn't until I was like 12 or so that I started trying to write some of these out. It didn't really work out too well, so I gave it up for a while until I was 20. And then I actually started writing big time. And then by that time, the stories in my head became bigger and more involved. I just had to start writing them down just to remember it all. And I've written stories to larger pieces, like Windswept Shores. I actually lived with my mother-in-law at that time, and we lived in a converted car shed. And I wasn't very happy, so I kept dreaming that I was on some island with absolutely nothing and had to struggle to survive. It was the only way I keep saying. And eventually all those stories ended up being Windswept Shores, which was my first published book. And I also love science fiction and fantasy, and so you can imagine my imaginary life was very, very full. Later on, I got online, and what a boon. I mean, really, what a boon the internet has been to writers. You can find Yahoo groups, you can find writers' workshops, you can find writers' writing groups, just right and left. There's just, it's wonderful. I found, my first one was, somebody had just suggested that I find this one writers' group, and it was called Avoid Writer's Hell, and I ended up with a mentor, Faith Bricknell Brown, and she wrote a series of books that the Yahoo group was named after, which was Avoid Writer's Hell. She taught me an awful lot, and the books are still available if you want to look them up. And then I went on to Savvy Writer. Well, it was Romance Divas. There's some free workshops there, and then Savvy Writer, and Coffee Time Romance and more, and just learned as much as I could. And this is before, during, and after the first publishing. When I went through that first edit, I realized how much I still needed to know, so I just dug in and took all the classes I could, bought books, read them, and I kept dreaming for a long time, but once I started getting published, it's like those dreams I had just kind of went away, and I fall asleep very, very fast. And thank goodness, but then I wake up at 4 in the morning with anxiety attacks, so anyway, I keep trying, I keep writing, and I now have 9 published books, 5 short stories. My 5th published book should be out next month around the 5th. Keep your fingers crossed. Please like and subscribe, whichever side it's on, and I would dearly love to get some comments. I think I've had like 1 or 2. And I will do another one of these next week. Thank you so much for joining me. Goodbye now. There it is. All right. Ow. Just hit my foot. And there we are. Hi, this is Janice Seagraves. I've got a new camera, as you can see. I had some problems with it earlier, and my son-in-law helped me with it, so hopefully I can get a recording done today.